Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Serko.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. We have a quorum. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So next on our agenda is presentations and awards. There are none tonight. We had a personal appearance, but they canceled. So we'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report for Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You have my written report, and I want to thank everyone that showed up for the Westgate Drive ribbon cutting this evening. That wraps up our 2016 GO bond projects, and on to the next one. And we are getting quite a bit of interest in the our request for proposals for the design of Ward Road. Those are due back just after Labor Day. So we're looking forward to continuing moving forward with that project. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Krass? Thank you. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Krass. I would ask Mr. Mustine to make a staff report for Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, members of the council. I also submitted a written staff report. I do want to announce that we have filled the position of the Recreation Facility Superintendent. Mr. Jimmy Gibbs joins us from Lawrence Parks and Recreation and a stint in the private sector working with Midwest Pools. So a lot of knowledge. Very excited to have him. He's done a great job just this first week, and we know we got great things coming from him. We will get him before you at a work session soon so that you all can meet him and recognize him in the future. Practice has started this week for our baseball softball leagues in the fall. As you are aware, there are some challenges to youth sports these days, so we're working through those challenges, but our goal and our mission is to allow kids to play sports and participate in programs, and that's what we're moving forward doing. We have soccer and volleyball meetings, coaches meetings this week as well, so we are full steam ahead until told otherwise. Our summer camp is now over as of last week. Memorial Park Lights project, the lights are in. I've talked with Corey with Brenton Electric, and they should be getting started next week. There was some lead time on the delivery and manufacturing of the lights just due to COVID and some things like that. So, but that is scheduled to move forward. Tomorrow night at Park Board, we have a work session where Ms. Harmer will be our guest speaker. Immediately following her presentation, the Park Board will adjourn and reconvene at TB Hanna Station for a walkthrough of the spray ground and the playground. I'm here to invite the council as well if you'd like to join us for that. We'll be walking through it, looking at the equipment, showing you guys kind of how it works. I would say around 6:30. Most of that depends on how long Ms. Harmer talks to us. So, but we have we're scheduled between 6:30 and 7:30 to be at TB Hanna. So would love to have any of the council members join us.
What's the date on that again, Nate?
Tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow night. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And to dovetail off of that, just so the council is aware, because that event will be slightly different and of a technical nature, they'll be walking you through all of the amenities. You all may have some questions. It'll be more like a pretty close to a joint work session. We have gone ahead and posted up the possibility of a quorum for that from the council. It's different than tonight's event where it's more of a social, you're cutting a ribbon and then leaving with no questions.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Mustine? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will there be a function check of the spray park as well?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Really?
We're going to no. But I would allow anybody who wants to stand underneath the buckets to experience that.
Outstanding.
You're more than welcome to do that.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I did have an opportunity on the way to services on yesterday to see the park, the crew out there installing it. The train looks very nice, and I'm looking forward to when that's fully operational. So excellent work.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Barber. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mustine, obviously the playground at TB Hanna has been open for, what, a week or so. Have you had any feedback from that? Heard from anybody?
Kids love it.
I was going to say, I can give you some, the people that I know that's brought their children there just absolutely thinks it's so different and unique that they really have enjoyed it. So I think the splash park will certainly be a nice complement to that. So
Sir,
thank you. Good
I
job.
agree. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Mustine. I would ask Ms. Harmer to make a report for the Communications Department.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I want to give a few Arts Commission updates. There are 2 new Little Free Libraries in Raymore. The Raymore Arts Commission awarded a $500 reimbursement grant to the Point at Raymore HOA to install and register a Little Free Library in their neighborhood, and the commission also awarded a $100 grant to the Wood Creek at the Good Ranch HOA for a new library. Little Free Library is the world's largest book sharing movement, with more than 100,000 libraries worldwide where anyone can take and leave a book. We also had a local author, Christina J. Thompson. She donated a few of her books to the libraries, and the commission purchased a few extras so that there could be a couple sets of her books at each of these new Little Free Libraries. Our chair, Lauren Jones, and vice chair, Bob Berry, presented the books at a mini little grand opening ceremony at each library a couple weeks ago. The Arts Commission has approved the final sculpture design for the Hawkridge Park sculpture project at its August 11th meeting. I will be presenting that information to the Park Board tomorrow at their work session, and then the project will be in front of you for approval at your next regular City Council meeting. This Thursday, Commission Chair Lauren Jones will be presenting a $2,600 donation from the Arts Commission to the Ray-Pec School District at their school board meeting. The donation is to be distributed equally between the art teachers in the district to use for the upcoming year. So each art teacher will get $200, plus there will be a $200 to the Scholl Early Learning Center for the arts. We know that this will be a challenging school year for teachers and students alike, and it's just a small way for the commission to support the arts in Ray-Pec schools and to show our appreciation to the teachers who do so much for their students. Other communication updates: the fall issue of the Review and the Parks and Rec program guide will be sent to the printer next week. It should be in mailboxes shortly after Labor Day. And as planning progresses with the GeoBond projects, I'll be fine-tuning the communications plan to our residents on the timeline of the projects and updating our webpage. All of the updates and available project information will still be found at raymore.com/bondprojects. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you. Any questions of Melissa? Yes, Mr. Holman.
Thank you, sir. The art project or the sculpture rather, at Hawkridge Park, do you know where that's going to go? Do they have a location selected for that?
Yes, it is in kind of the long triangle area to, if you're facing the amphitheater to the right, to the east side.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly how tall the base will be, but the sculpture is about 8 feet tall and 7 feet wide all around.
And is that something the artist would be constructing on site, or he would make it, he or she would make it, and then we would
So the
transport
artist
it in?
is Leslie Tharp. She's out of Florida. She'll be constructing most of it in Florida and transporting it and putting it together, the final piece together up here.
And I know we have the procedural to go through with the Parks Board, or Arts Commission and Parks and us. Assuming everything goes through, we have any kind of a thought on a timeline when?
I have hopes for late October.
Okay.
But it does depend on how everything goes on her end.
Sure, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
The council will also be hearing a secondary part of that, which is getting electrical to it on this agenda.
Anyone else? Thanks, Ms. Harmer. Appreciate it. Mr. Fearborn, anything else?
Thank you, Ms. Harmer. Just to update the council, a reminder that next week is the 5th Monday, so we will not be having a meeting that night. The following Monday is Labor Day, so your next meeting will be your regular business meeting on Monday, September 14th. Second item, last item, if you have not had the chance, you will, when you open up today's supplemental weekly police report, you will see that we have added a new section to the bottom with frequently asked questions regarding numbers and COVID. So those numbers are updated by Mr. Murdoch every single Monday morning. They are current through Sunday night. So you'll be seeing the latest and greatest and what we try to do is compare Cass County to Raymore, with Cass County numbers and Raymore numbers that are associated with it, all the way back to the beginning of this, what's active now, mortalities, and then the unique situation of a number of cases from Raymore senior centers that are associated, which is obviously a very high number compared to the general population.
Right.
That concludes staff reports this evening, sir.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Fearborn? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Just to make sure my calendar's right and I heard you correctly. So as far as the council sessions, we will not meet again until the 14th.
What did I do with it? September 14th,
Thank you.
at your regular business meeting.
Yes.
So you have 3 weeks off.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing further, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 2 items. Is it 2 or 3? 2. 2 items on our consent agenda tonight. I would entertain a motion to split those items or to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve consent agenda items A, city council minutes from August 10th, 2020, and item B, disposal of surplus property.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thanks, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. We'll now move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3563 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3563 by title only, an ordinance pursuant to Section 67.110 of the revised statutes of Missouri levying general and special taxes in the city of Raymore, Missouri for the year 2020.
Thank you. As this item was discussed at length in the first reading, as well as a opening for citizen input, that is not this evening, but I wanted to explain that. But I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3563, setting of the 2020 tax levy.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3563. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Okay, please have the second reading of Bill 3560 by title only.
The second reading of Bill 3560 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Raymore, Missouri, establishing a stop sign within the city limits of Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3560, establishing a stop sign.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I will second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3560. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the second reading of Bill 3561 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3561 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Bright Construction, LLC for the Willowwind Gravity Sewer Project, City Project Number 2345201, in the amount of $159,779, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3561, Willowwind Gravity Sewer.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3561. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the second reading of Bill 3562 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3562 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with J. Richardson Construction for the 2020 Stormwater Improvements Project, City Project Number 2350201, in the amount of $67,464.20, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3562, the 2020 stormwater improvements.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3562. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3564 by title only?
Second reading of Bill 3564 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the Dean Avenue Extension right-of-way first plat located south of North Cass Parkway, Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3564, Dean Avenue Extension right-of-way final plat.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3564. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. We'll now move on to new business. Could I please have the reading of Resolution 20-46 by title only?
The reading of Resolution 20-46 by title only, a resolution of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the schedule of fees.
Thank you. This item requires a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing at this time and ask for a staff report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Williams to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Before you this evening is a resolution amending the schedule of fees for our fiscal year 2021. Moving in the order of our schedule of fees, building inspections includes the addition of 3 new permits. They are for fire sprinkler systems, fire alarm systems, and commercial kitchen hoods, each at $45. The License Tax Review Committee met in June and recommends increasing the excise tax per trip by the rate of the construction cost index as of January 2020. That rate is 1.65%. The water and sewer section includes increases to the tap fees, also related to the construction cost index of 1.65%, as well as increasing the meter supply fee to the cost of purchase. Staff met with council at a work session in July regarding the cost of service, water and sewer rate model. The adjustments to the sewer rates are before you in our schedule of fees. The alcohol and beverage permit fees include the addition of penalties for late liquor license renewals. This is to mirror state statute. And in the last section, the Parks and Recreation section includes additional fees for new spaces that are available for rentals, including the amphitheater and the shelter in Hawkridge Park, as well as the soccer and flag football fields and the recreational activity center. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, Lisa. Anybody have a question for Ms. Williams? Mr. Holman.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Good report. Just as a reminder to everyone, on our water and sewer fees in the City of Raymore, we do and always have run a cost of service model. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. We only collect what our cost is to provide the materials and the service when it comes to sewer. And a reminder to the council that we had originally proposed in work session that the sewer model was going to be going up by 52 cents, 54 cents. But what is before you tonight, after we had negotiated with Little Blue Valley Sewer District on the rate model that they were using, pointed out some possible flaws that may have been in that particular rate model for their cost of service. We're actually proposing 22% or 22-cent reduction in the rate that we put before you at the work session, down to 30 cents for the increase in that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else have any questions of Ms. Williams or Mr. Fearborn? If not, there is an open public hearing at this time. I would invite anybody from the public that wishes to address the council on this particular topic. Please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at this time, and I'll entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the first reading of Resolution 2046, Schedule of Fees.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. As this is a resolution, there's just the one reading, so we'll
Yes,
we'll go with that.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution 20-46. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Holman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think it's exceptional, the news that Mr. Fearborn just gave us. Again, as I had staff remind everyone, we run a cost of service operation with our water and sewer rates. Not every city around does that. And the fact that they go through these rates and then they double check what is coming to us from the providing entity, and that they found some possible flaws and got us an even better discount just shows how fantastic our staff really is.
I would agree. Anyone else have anything? If not, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. So the next item is the revocation of an occupational license hearing for 9 Round. How do we proceed with this, Mr. Zur?
Your Honor, there is an opportunity for the individual to provide, or the owner of the business to provide input this evening. My suggestion would be that we start with city staff, a report from city clerk's office.
Okay. Can I please have the city staff report?
I would suggest opening, I believe this is a public hearing, sir.
Oh, okay. It wasn't so stated on the minutes, but I'll open a public hearing at this time.
Thank you.
And I'd ask for a staff report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Hill to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The City of Raymore received notification dated July 15th, 2020 from the Missouri Department of Revenue that the Missouri Retail Sales Tax License has been revoked for C&M-R Fitness, LLC, doing business as 9 Round, located at 824 West Foxwood Drive, owned by Jason Raines. In accordance with City Code Section 605-010B2B, titled Mid-Year Suspension, the business was notified on July 21st, 2020 by regular mail, hand delivery, and certified mail of the suspension of their occupational license. As the business failed to comply with Section 605-010B2B, the business was notified on August 4th, 2020 via the same notifications, giving notice of this hearing to determine revocation of the occupational license for C&M-R Fitness, LLC, doing business as 9 Round under City Code Section 605-040B2B, titled Revocation. The occupational license for C&M-R Fitness, LLC, doing business as 9 Round is before you for a decision with respect to the revocation of the license.
And to dovetail off of that, the public hearing component of this particular item, which is actually titled hearing on there, is for the applicant. The applicant must be given by code the opportunity to address why their situation to the council. I do not at this time see the applicant in the audience.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and open the floor for the applicant in the event they're within earshot. Seeing no one come forward, we'll go ahead and close the hearing at this time, and I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the revocation of occupational license for C&M-R Fitness, LLC. DBA is 9 Round.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to move forward with the revocation of occupational license for C&M-R Fitness, LLC, doing business as 9 Round. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Fearborn, could you just run us through, or maybe Mr. Zur, if we approve this as presented tonight, what will transpire for this business? And I'm assuming that nothing has happened since this was printed. We haven't heard anything from the state, or nothing's changed. We haven't heard.
Nothing has changed. We tried to reach out as late again as this afternoon to the applicant. We do know that they are open for business, although business is very scarce. There's been an employee in there each time that Mr. Vogel has gone in to either deliver a letter or to check to see if they're open. So we do know that they are open for business and must be getting at least enough people in there that they're keeping their doors open. We checked with the state today to see if there'd been any change in the status of the revocation. There has not been. They are still technically revoked by the state. Mr. Zur has been briefing himself up to and including right before the meeting on what the next steps would be if you vote to affirm this motion this evening. So I will let him address that particular item.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. Councilman Berenson, happy to provide you with input with regard to that. Under Section 605040D of our current code, if they continue to conduct business, they will be in violation of your order as issued this evening. It does allow for, under the terms of the code, for the city manager, the city clerk, or any other official authorized to enforce city license ordinances to do one of two things, either to seek an injunctive relief through the circuit court, which would be an injunction indicating the requirement to close the business so that it would be in compliance with the order, or an order of the municipal court to restrain or correct or otherwise abate the ongoing violation.
Thank you, sir. I really just wanted this explanation for anybody watching. I know this body up here takes this very seriously, and we don't just haphazardly close the business down. And it's my understanding we really, according to the law for the state of Missouri, we really don't have much of a choice at this point. Is that correct?
We are acting on a revocation. With the state of Missouri, their license is already revoked. You may remember we had some discussion at code change with the council about whether the council even has it is a revoked license at this point in time. So I don't want to call the council's actions redundant, because on the front end of this, we also issue a city license as long as they are in good stead with the state, and the state has issued them their license. But it is somewhat of an administrative matter since the state is telling us to close them down in this case. As Mr. Zur indicated, we could either take injunctive relief through the county court system or actually handle this through our municipal court system. As has happened in the past, I would always recommend to the council and let you all know that it would be my first choice, if you do vote in the affirmative on this item tonight, to actually take it through our municipal judge. It is easier for our prosecutor to understand the situation and our municipal judge to understand the situation, and it is much swifter than what is currently in existence down at the county. I just feel like it's a Raymore matter. We should handle it with the Raymore methods.
Thank you. Mr. Fearborn and Mr. Zur, I appreciate your responses. Again, with COVID, I just want to make sure anybody watching knows that we do everything possibly that we can. And it's tough for me personally to vote to shut down a business with this going on. And again, thank you for the explanations, and thank you for trying to reach out to Mr. Raines even today. Appreciate that.
Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Berenson, wow. One of those nights. Mr. Berenson hit a point that I wanted to ask the question on. In the climate of COVID, was there ever a point where Missouri suspended, revoking licenses because businesses were shut down for a period of time? Or because if there were, now that letters have been issued and things of that sort, we're outside those windows of any possible suspended time?
Just like your regular car licenses and going into license bureaus to get those revoked, those were revoked for, they took no action on, I shouldn't say they were revoked. They took no action on these for a period of 30 days. Okay. But then after that 30-day period, when everybody was opened up, okay, and all the rest of our fitness centers have been able to open up, and everybody, this one's out there. Gotcha. We do have a couple of other locations that are in the court system, but nothing of this nature.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
And I would remind the council, City Hall never closed down one day during the COVID crisis. Anybody else have anything? If not, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the reading of the resolution 20-45 by title only?
The reading of Resolution 20-45 by title only. A resolution of the Raymore City Council approving the extension of the preliminary plat for Timber Trails subdivision.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Cataret to make the staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir.
Eric Schmidt, who's representing Hunt Midwest, is requesting a one-year extension to the expiration date for the preliminary plat for the Timber Trail subdivision. As Hunt Midwest continues the discussion on the next steps for residential development in Timber Trails, the city does desire to construct Johnston Drive between Dean Avenue and the Outer Road, or Harmon Drive. And as you recall, that road segment was included in the road projects as part of our recent general obligation bond issue approved by the voters. The approved preliminary plat does reflect this proposed road connection. So extension of the preliminary plat would enable the city to prepare a final plat drawing to secure the right-of-way that would be necessary for the road segment to be constructed. Staff does recommend extension of the preliminary plat for a one-year period.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Mr. Holman?
Thank you, sir. Good report as always, Mr. Carteret. So two questions. Do you have the data on the building activity there in the past year for that? And do you believe that the construction of the road will generate more interest in home building in that area once the road is in?
There hasn't been any activity directly in the Timber Trail subdivision over the last year, but without question, the extension of this road segment does open up additional land area for secondary access other than just Dean Avenue. So it talks with Hunt Midwest. We do believe this would entice them to look closer at developing their land.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else have any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Resolution 2045, extension of Timber Trails preliminary plat.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Resolution 20-45. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3558 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3558 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Amino Brothers Company, Inc. for the North Fox Ridge Drive Safe Routes to School project, project number TAP 3301-526, in the amount of $114,618.70, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This project is being funded on an 80-20 basis through the Safe Routes to School program that's administered by the Missouri Department of Transportation. It will extend a sidewalk along North Fox Ridge Drive from Drake Lane to Creekmore Drive. We do recommend award of the contract to Amino Brothers. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff? Yes, Mr. Holman.
Thank you. Just more a curiosity question for Mr. Fearborn. Contracts of this nature and this size, why don't they just round to the single dollar? Why do we do 17 cents?
I think I actually have an answer for that. Projects of this size are bid by unit, and so it's not a question of them getting down to the bottom line and then going, am I correct, Mr. Krass?
Yes, sir.
Excellent answer. But yeah, it's bid by unit, and that's just the way the math comes out.
Okay, fair enough, sir.
Mr. Berenson.
One more quick question here, and I probably should have seen this in here, but I know we decided a while back to widen our sidewalks. Will this be the new wider, I think, 4-foot sidewalk or what?
5 foot. Yeah,
5
we
foot?
went from 4 to 5.
Yes.
4 to 5.
Yes.
It won't match the existing. Thank you.
And it will match that? I'm sorry, I missed that. I was interrupting him and then interrupting you at the same time.
It is a 5-foot sidewalk.
It is, okay, thank you. All right. Sorry, John. Final answer. Anything else? Any other questions of staff? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3558, North Fox Ridge Drive Safe Routes to Schools.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3558. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3567 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3567 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Brenton Electric Company for the Johnston Lake Fountain, project number 2343701, in the amount of $26,020, including an alternate bid for a community art electrical service in the amount of $3,467, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Mustine to make the staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Before you tonight is a recommendation for the purchase and installation of a fountain in Johnston Lake at Hawkridge Park. This particular fountain was spec'd and designed or recommended by the Department of Conservation to help with water control issues in the water and on the lake. It also has LED lighting, so it'll be a nice feature on the lake. We did add an alternate bid that included lighting or electrical work to provide lighting for the art sculpture that Ms. Harmer previously talked about this evening. Within your packet is a map that shows the location of where that particular piece of art is going to be in relation to the amphitheater. We submitted bids for this, or opened this up for bids. We received one through Brenton Electric. They are here tonight representing themselves for this contract, and this was approved by the Park Board in special meeting on August 11th, just to expedite the process and to kind of jump ahead of the 3 weeks off that we have. So this is recommended, and that concludes staff report.
Thank you, Nathan. Any questions of Nathan? Mr. Holman?
So you mentioned alternate bid. It may be a question for Mr. Fearborn. Is what we would be approving including the electrical work for the fountain and the electrical work for the sculpture?
That is correct, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions of staff? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
I move that we approve Bill 3567, Johnston Lake Fountain.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3567. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3566 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3566 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the final plat of the Prairie of the Good Ranch, lots 1 through 65 and tracts A through F, a replat of the Prairie View of the Good Ranch subdivision.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Cataret to make the staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Dave Otis, who's representing Good Otis LLC, is requesting approval of the Prairie of the Good Ranch. This is a replat of the existing Prairie View of the Good Ranch. Unfortunately, Prairie View's had a dark cloud hanging over it for a long, long time. This plat goes back to 2006. When the initial plat was done, the engineer for the project utilized a 50-foot wide easement for the gas pipeline, which was consistent with easements through the city of Raymore, through Brookside, through Cedar Ridge, and elsewhere. What's happened at this point in time that's forced the replat is Southern Star has come back to the developer and stated the easement needs to be 66 foot wide. When the easement was initially placed on this land, this goes back decades, it was a blanket easement. So Southern Star does have the ability to define what it was as an easement width, and it doesn't appear that they agreed to the 50-foot easement back in 2006. So it's forcing the developer to increase the width of the easement, and they're doing that by taking a little bit of land away from the lots that are adjacent or near the existing 50-foot easement. So the lot lines are adjusted on the replat to allow for that 66-foot wide easement. The Planning Commission did consider this replat on August 18th. They voted 7-0 to recommend approval of the replat to the City Council. They did have two conditions. There were Two of the dates on the document itself needed to be updated to reflect that the drawing itself had been updated. That has been completed in the copy that was presented to you this evening. The second condition was they wanted to include the required design for our cul-de-sacs. That's our new teardrop design on the plat. I did indicate back after the meeting to the commission that the plat itself only reflects the right-of-way. It is the construction documents that are reviewed by our city engineer's office that reflect the actual road construction and the width of the cul-de-sac and the teardrop. The developer was not required to do the teardrop on this subdivision phase because it was approved back in 2006, but they did construct it and did follow our design standard. They just didn't have to reflect that on the plat. So I wanted to be certain that the council was aware that the conditions have been met. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions of staff? There are no questions. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3566, the Prairie of Good Ranch final plat.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3566. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously 8-0. We'll now move on to public comments. If anyone would like to address the council at this time, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to 5 minutes. I see no one coming forward, so we'll close public comment section and move on to mayor council communication. And I'll start with Mr. Circo tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Don't have much tonight. Thank you to Mr. Mustine for all you do with the Parks and the Rec, getting us moving forward so quickly. And that park up there at TB Haddon is going to be fantastic. I drove by yesterday, and my wife and I, it just looks beautiful. Thank you to Mr. Fearborn for your due diligence when it comes to our levies and our money, finding more money to save the city constantly. You're always in there trying to find us money, and you do a good job at that, and all you do on these different projects. Thank you, sir, and your staff.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a good opening to the school year today. I wanted to thank Dr. Schlegel for his leadership. He's come in, most people I've talked to reported he's been in their classrooms and gone around and asked people, what their concerns were, and we really appreciate that. Real good day. All the students were wearing their masks, and I just wish that our county could model that for them so they would know that the adults are telling them one thing and also doing what they're telling them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to repeat Mr. Circle's comments, and Mr. Burke's for that matter. Awesome report this evening on Parks and Rec and the progress we're making there. I look forward to meeting the new superintendent. Also, school, just a reminder to everyone, as Mr. Burke just said, school's back in. There are kids attending school. There's always some confusion. Are they in school? Are they not? And yes, they are. So be careful as you're driving, for those of you who may still be able to go to work. And then finally, just wishing everyone a happy Labor Day. We aren't going to be back until after Labor Day, so won't be able to see everybody until then. And hope everyone has a safe and hopefully a restful and relaxing Labor Day. Thanks, sir.
Amen. Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also want to echo the comments of my colleagues. Again, excellent job to Parks and Rec and the contractors who constructed the Westgate Drive. It's a very nice drive through there, as well as welcoming Mr. Gibbs to the Parks and Rec. And again, thank you to Mr. Lauren and the Arts Commission and all the commissioners on Arts Commission for the little blue library that they installed at Wood Creek, as well as the donation they're making to the Ray-Peck School District. So two outstanding initiatives there on their part as well. Again, thank you. And to Mr. Fearborn, I may just happen to walk into the office here on those 3 weeks. It just seems wrong not to do something in 3 weeks, but thank you for the time off.
Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Mr. Townsend. It will be kind of strange on having a meeting for 2 weeks, so maybe we can have a party at Councilman Townsend's house on
Yeah,
Monday
there you go.
night. Only 4 of us can go, though.
Distanced, masks, all that stuff.
It was great to see the new playground go in at TB Hanna Station. Unofficial polling, my children thought it was awesome and they loved it. I didn't go with them, but my wife said they had a great time. And maybe I'll try to make it tomorrow night at 6:30. So no swimsuits are required. Is that true? Good. I don't have my beach body ready for that anyway with my COVID weight I've gained. Thank you, everybody. Great meeting tonight. Great reports, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Abdelgawad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just thinking that we've kind of shared quite a bit of good news this evening. As mentioned previously, the decrease in the amount of the increase for sewer, that's always good news to save money for our citizens. We heard right at the beginning of the meeting and before the meeting that all of the 2016 bond projects are complete, so that's great news. Proof of follow through from the city and getting all those things done that we promised the citizens. There were a few other things kind of buried in our report. I noticed in the park board agenda, one of the things I love about the disc golf course that we have is that the people who use that course really help take care of it. I've seen previously they've been out there pulling weeds and helping get things ready. They've helped with planning it, and even now offering materials to be able to do some more upgrades for some of the bank of the creek that's kind of washed away. So I thought that was great news. And then there were a couple other parks items. Nathan, is there still an opportunity for people to sign up for the virtual costume fun run? Could you share a little bit of information about that?
I believe that was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. I knew that it happened, but I didn't know if there was like a wider time that people could do it.
I believe, in talking with the staff this morning in their meetings and briefings for me, it was successful because we had people calling and everything. So I don't think that will be the last one we see.
Okay.
It was just a unique and fun event. So I would venture to say that that's probably going to be something we do more frequently anyway.
Kind of as a replacement to the mud run.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Anyway, I saw some news about it on Facebook and read about it in the report, and that's why I wondered if there was still more time for it, but apparently it's done, but keep your eye out for the next one. All right, thanks. And then the farmers market, of course. I was talking to someone who was saying some of the other farmers markets in the area are kind of closing down the end of this month, and ours goes through September, so we still have that on Tuesday nights. So thanks. Sorry I talked so much.
Thank you. Mr. Barber.
Are you sure? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I just saw where you were at last week.
A lot of good comments tonight. Mr. Fairborn, really appreciate you and your staff sharpening your pencils and overturning some rocks and saving our constituents a little bit on that. And I can make this correct statement. At the tier that we are, that we get our water and sewer, we have the best rates of anybody around us.
Absolutely, sir.
And I will speak from I'm kind of showing my age, but when I was a very young person, I can remember pumping a well at my grandparents and bringing water to the house. And I do appreciate turning on my faucet and having good, clean water. And that's a bill I don't mind paying. And so I'm glad you do a good job on keeping it down and the city keeping it down. I appreciate everybody showing up for the Westgate Drive. That's been a long time coming. I always have to tell the story. It was the first time, it was the last time too, because I didn't make that mistake that Mr. Holman chastised me. And so every time I drive down that, I think about that, keeping our Raymore citizens in Raymore and keeping them safe. And I really appreciate our citizens voting for that and the council putting that together, and then our staff making that work. So that's going to be a nice addition to our city, and I think that's going to save some people some headache, heartache, and from accidents, and I'm excited for that. And I appreciate my colleagues on this first read on the North Fox Ridge sidewalk that school program. If you see that area over there, Fox Ridge Drive is 35 miles an hour, and when kids have to go to school, They have to cross Fox Ridge to get on that Creekmore path there to get to the school. This way, and the path is on the opposite side of the neighborhoods. All these sidewalks will be on the side of the neighborhood, so they'll be able to walk to a crossing guard and cross at a crossing guard. So that's something very nice, and it's glad that we got some participation with that as well. So good, and kudos to staff for doing it. And I look forward to the finishing of TB Hanna. That park is just, it's gone, it's just amazing what that started with. It's just an empty lot and what it's turned into. So thanks again, and see everybody tomorrow night.
Mr. Holman.
Thank you, sir. I just have one item, might kind of slip under the radar, but remember when I was first elected to the council, typically a packet like this would be maintenance items, things that we had to take care of. Broken sewer pipe, stuff that was already listed in the capital projects. About 70-80% of this stuff's new stuff. Brand new projects every day coming on board. We just wrapped up in 4 years the old GeoBond project, and even before it was done, they were putting things together for the new GeoBond project. The city's moving at an incredible rate, sir. It's good news. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. I really don't have anything to add to my esteemed colleagues' comments tonight, so we have no reason to go to executive session?
No, sir.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we adjourn the council session for August the 24th.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion,
Thanks,
sir.
Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? It's unanimous. We're adjourned. Thank you.